sometimes people have what it takes, but they haven't recognized it yet. Just go forward.
Welcome, everybody, and hello.
This is Andrew.
What you need to do is be that person that's different
and is bigger than you think.
Rise from the ashes and fly like the phoenixes that you are.
I love doing these. I love prepping for them. I love getting responses back from you guys, from people that actually pick something up. So, I appreciate, as always, those of you that are here. Now, what I want to do today, there are a lot of us that are making a transition into being an entrepreneur for the first time, or maybe you've tried it for a while. And there's a handful of things, a handful of questions that I want to give you to think about that you need to make sure that you have answered or that you're willing to answer. And sometimes they're answers that you need to, questions that you need to ask yourself frequently, right? You need to come back to it from time to time. So here we go. For today, I'm giving you the four most important questions to answer if you really want to make a change as an entrepreneur. Okay, so number one, am I addicted to my struggle story? Look, we all struggle in life. Be conscious about how you label yourself and how it affects your circumstances going forward. We'll dive into that in a second. Are you addicted to your struggle story? Are you holding on to that little bit of sense even as a victim, even though you've passed it? You've gotten beyond it. Easy example, myself. So I tell the story all the time. August 25th, 2013, August 25th is my birthday. That was the day I was going through my separation. I woke up in the backseat of my car, not really having a home, not knowing where I was going to go, walking away from a business that I'd helped build up. Didn't know what I was going to do. I've done so much and I am not that person anymore. And looking back at that, I have a different thought than I had even just a couple of years ago. See, I've been doing this for a while now online, but I would tell that story over and over and over again. And I recognized one day how much I was holding on to it. I sit here now, guys, and a lot of times if it's, even if it's hot outside, my fiance likes the AC like cranked up. She likes it cold. And so a lot of times I'll sit here and I'm in shorts, but I'll end up with a little blanket on me, right? One of those just little ones that you would sit on the couch, 5x7, nothing big. Well, there was that night, August 25th, that the 24th into the 25th, I had a little red blanket that was just like that, 5x7, thin. I think I've got a frozen blanket on me right now, but one of these things, like this big. And I would sit with that blanket all the time. All the time that I worked, that blanket stayed with me. After I had, I'd gotten rid of the car, I didn't have any of the clothes left that I had at that time. Really, the only thing that I had left from my marriage, like, I don't know if any of you guys have done this during a divorce, but I left and I didn't take the furniture. I didn't take, I had my clothes and I had, some pictures and some books and journals. And that was it. Like a handful of boxes, everything fit in the back of a PT Cruiser. I was driving a really cool car. That's what I had. But that blanket, even though everything else had kind of rotated out, except for some of the mementos, that blanket stayed with me. And I would use it. And I would talk about this was the blanket. I would hold on to, I held on to that story so much. You know what I mean? I held on to those struggles more than I should. And it's kind of like an example that I use from time to time. It's like that person at church that spends all their time talking about how awful sin is and how you have to be careful about this and be careful about this and you have to avoid this and you have to stay away from that and all of these awful negative things. And they're trying to be righteous and pious and faithful, but all they seem to do is focus on the sin and the negativity and traps and all the temptation and everything else. It's like they're walking along the path in life and all they do is stand next to the trap and tell everyone about the trap. They stand next to the hole and say, be careful about this hole. They're not progressing themselves, right? They might as well be in the trap because that's all they're thinking about. That's all they're doing. Guys, all of us struggle. All of us do. Yeah. It can become those traps, those problems, those struggles can become part of our identity, right? Because we feed it so much. Don't want you to do that. Or are you addicted to the struggle story? You got to kind of think, Look, be conscious about how you label yourself, how it affects your circumstances. Try making a rule that if you're going to share the difficult things in your life or in your business, you've got to be willing to discuss how you're going to fix them or how you already have. Start looking at the positive side of it, right? Don't hold on to the struggle so tightly that it becomes part of your identity, just like Chantel's talking about there. Okay. That can be rough. It's playing the victim card. Yeah. As part of it, whoever iPhone is, it can be playing the victim card, but a lot of us, and that's part of it too, right? I mean, I've kind of said it here before, guys, but we've all got problems. And a lot of times people tell me, well, here's why this won't work for me. And once in a while, I've stopped someone and I just said, hey, how long has that been your script? How long has that been the story you're telling yourself? Well, I tried this and it didn't work because of insert thing. I tried this and it didn't because of, well, you know what happens to me, where I live or how I grew up or my parents or my this or my that. Like, we've all got problems. All of us have something. We got people from all over the world. I guarantee I could grab somebody on here that's got a story that's more difficult than yours. I don't care where you're at. And some of them, look, this is something. Yeah. So yes, victim card or just your struggle. Even as you're overcoming it, don't hold on to the struggle. Part of it may be mindset of circumstances, but it's looking at the overall process, right? Like, we all go through those circumstances. We all do. But are you holding on to the BS, the struggle, the obstacles, the challenges, and like, man, I've overcome versus I overcame and now I'm here. It's a little shift, but look, I'm leaving that nonsense behind, right? So yeah, don't let the failure define you. Look at it, but look at if you failed, but you're still here in one way or another, you overcame. Yeah, absolutely, Chantel. There's nothing wrong with some of the struggle in your path. Like, everybody that's successful has struggle in their path. It's how much power you give to the struggle versus, overcoming, right? So next, am I just comfortable with what I know? This is something we've talked a lot about, right? Especially in the last little bit. We're talking about learning new habits. We're talking about rewriting our subconscious mind. We're talking about becoming different. One of the reasons change can be so hard to enforce for ourselves is that whether we are aware of it or not, most of us love knowing what to expect. You want to know what's going to come. Our routines repeat every day. We do them and we repeat them in our minds even more frequently. So if we tell ourselves that we got the short end of the stick, or how unfair life is, or how difficult this was, or how much I didn't enjoy the technology, or how hard that is for me, or how much I'm going to struggle here, or, how difficult it is for me to maintain a diet, or, oh, I'm good at it for, I only ever work out for this long and then I always seem to fall off. Again, how long is that the script you're going to keep telling yourself, right? Are you okay challenging yourself? And if you're not, start challenging yourself in small ways. Start changing up the daily habits, routines. This is something we've been going over a lot the last couple of weeks. It's what you need if you're looking for a new you, right? So this goes along with this. This isn't another one, but you have to consciously break the mold, guys. So instead of just talking about those struggles and things, write down what you're grateful for, sit with that positive feeling. This is where affirmations, all of these things, right? The gratitude journal, all of it. Imagination, visualization, your vision board, the gratitude journal, saying, hearing, speaking affirmations, all of this. That's how you start to rewrite the things that you're comfortable with. Now, a lot of times, I would change this word comfortable to content. Your comfort zone oftentimes isn't super comfortable. Oftentimes, it's just what you're content with. It's what you're used to. Next. Excuse me. What lies at the core of your struggle? Self-awareness. Anybody heard me talk about that once or twice? Knowing who you are. Look, take the tests, experiment, meet new people, try new things, do different stuff. You've got to dig deeper. Okay, so a lot of times people will say, well, delete that. Well, it's the job, it's my boss, it's my family, it's my partner, it's the kids, it's my health issue, it's this, it's that. Let me insert all of the BS excuses here, when really the problem is deeper down and you've got to peel it back. Quit assuming that the most basic thing that you feel you have a problem with is the actual problem. Okay, go deeper. Carrie, the mind will always go toward the familiar and move away from the unfamiliar. Absolutely. So, your product of your decision rather than your circumstances. Yep. Comment of a person who stopped learning, for sure. The unknown is uncomfortable, whether it be personal. It even affects the stock market. Yeah, the unknown. That's what people don't enjoy, right? And we've talked about how our brains react to what's known over and over and over again. The whole, myelination, the myelin sheath, the electropulses, all of this stuff that's happening with your neurotransmitters. When you're unfamiliar with things, it requires change, and we don't like change. Be willing to do that. But part of this is diving deep into you. Okay. Become hyper self-aware. Set that as a goal for yourself this year. Becoming hyper self-aware. Know what triggers you, understand what brings you joy, figure out where your frustrations lie, find ways to modify those, outsource them or whatever. Find what brings you happiness and move towards those. Next question. If you had 1 week to make the change, how would you do it? How do you quiet your mind? That's a good question. We'll talk about it. Look, we all procrastinate. All of us do. Last minute men, women, if you can put it off tomorrow, then you will. Here's something to remember though. Some things in life do have an expiration date. Some things you need to move on. So like getting yourself launched here, guys, starting your transformation physically, mentally, emotionally, rework it. Like we put it off because it requires change. It makes us uncomfortable. There may be confrontation involved. Sometimes that confrontation is fully with ourself, right? And things that we haven't dug up in a while. Sometimes it requires meeting with a therapist or an attorney or your boss at work or talking to your partner or whatever. But we put it off because other things seem to find priorities or, find themselves as priorities. Reprioritize your life and deal with it now. There's a quote floating around on social media. It's attributed to Elon Musk. I don't know if it's Elon's or if it's the picture that everyone is using. But the thought behind it is true. Like if you give yourself 30 days to clean your house, your garage, it's going to take you 30 days to do it. Right? Well, I want to get launched within X amount of time. Well, it's going to take you X amount of time and probably an extra 10 to 20%. I'm going to start my diet Monday. Oh, well, I goofed up and it's Sunday at 12:30 midnight. So I'll start next Monday. Right? Guys, the world isn't going to fall apart if you prioritize yourself once in a while and get things done now. Your family isn't going to implode. Your spouse isn't going to hate you, hopefully. And if they do, blame it on me and I'll get on a call and smooth it out. Kind of. Or just blame me and I won't answer the phone. Look, prioritize yourself some and get things done. Okay, so if you had to make the change, if you had to get it done in a week, what would you change right now? And then change that and get it done and get it checked off and move forward. James Clear would be fantastic to get on. I'll reach out. Why not, right? So those are your big 4 questions. I'll give those to you in the slides. I want you to think about it time and again. Look at where you need to be. Let go of the struggle. Peel back the layers. Become hyper self-aware. And prioritize yourself once in a while. Now, real quick on that last thing on prioritizing yourself, stereotypical or not, women, ladies, you have a tendency to not do this more often than men. Men do it, but in different ways. So I'll talk to men at a different point, but ladies, especially those of you that have a significant other And if you have kids and grandkids, even more. You've put yourself off a lot. I promise you have. Because it's within your nature to make sure everyone around you is happy. And you are more often than not the peacekeeper. Unless it's Thanksgiving and you want everybody out of your kitchen. But you're bending over backwards to make everybody else happy. And you prioritize them with everything. I promise you that if you take care of yourself just a little bit more, and this whole idea behind like, oh, I'm going to take a me day. I'm going to go take care of myself, as if it's a bad thing, as if it should be something that's totally uncommon, right? Take care of yourselves, prioritize yourselves once in a while. I promise in the long run, your relationships will be better and your husbands won't complain. Right? Or your significant others or your kids. They'll probably cheer you on because they've been trying to tell you the same thing. You need to take care of yourself. Find those little things that bring joy to you. Prioritize that a little bit. So,
sometimes people have what it takes, but they haven't recognized it. Just go forward. So what do you need to do?
Be awesome.
How do you stand out? So what you need to do is be that person that's different, and it's bigger than you think,
guys. But
Rise from the ashes and
wrap
fly
up
like
this
the phoenix.
recording.